What's up, YouTube? I posted a video about a week ago, and I got some pretty good feedbacks. And there was a few of you guys that asked me to do a tutorial to show you how to accomplish that look that I did. The look that you're looking at right now. It's a very nice, transformer, looking. It's very, it has a lot of contrast and it's very punchy. So let me start by saying that I'm not a professional colorist, or I'm not a pro at at color grading, whatever. All right, so let's get started. As you can see, I already imported my clip into Final Cut Pro 10, so that's the platform I'm using for this tutorial. And I got the clip, I got the footage from newmansfilm.net. So if you want to get the same footage that I got, you might want to go there and subscribe to their website. I don't know if it's too late to get it, because what he was doing was releasing one clip every month for a period of 5 months, I believe. So I don't know if it's too late, but you might still want to subscribe, because he's always giving free stuff, and he has a lot of stuff for sale. So if you want to buy some high quality footage, you can go to his website and purchase those too. All right. So this footage, I think, was shot on the Arri Alexa. The codec is ProRes 422HQ, I believe. So to get started, all we have to do is what I usually do. I usually create 3 corrections. So let's add another correction and another correction. So we actually got 3 corrections. The first one, I use it for exposure and saturation. The second one and the third one, I use those to add color to the footage to get the look that I'm looking for. All right, so we're going for that look, the one I posted about a week ago. All right, so let's get started. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play around with the exposure. So we're just gonna bring the overall exposure up a little bit. Yeah, and we're gonna bring the shadows down. Well, don't worry about the shadows being too crushed right now, because you can always come back and adjust the look when we're done. When we are close to the final grade. You want to bring the mid-tones too low. You don't want to crush the mid-tones too much, because you want to preserve those details. And we're just gonna bring the highlights up a little bit. All right. So as you can see, the image is already looking better than than before. So it's still a flat image, but you can actually see more more details. It's still a washed out image, but still looking pretty good. All right, so the next step, we move over to saturation. So the next step, we're gonna play around with the saturation, bring the saturation up. Remember, we're going for a very saturated look. Let's say about about right here, and bring the shadows up a little bit too, and the mid-tone up. All right, so this is my own way of doing it. So you can there's other way of doing it, but this is how I've achieved mine. Okay, so let's take a look at the footage. All right. Okay, it's looking a little oversaturated. We're gonna fix that later. It's like you can see, the reds are popping, and the yellows are very bright. So we're not worrying about that for now. We're just gonna come back later and adjust it. All right, let's move over to correction number 2. Correction number 2. All we're gonna do in correction number 2 is add a little blue. We're gonna add a little blue to the shadows, so we can get a cooler looking image, because it's looking kind of warm right now. Okay, so we go to the color tab, and we're gonna add some blue to the shadows. Alright. Not a lot of blue, just a little bit. I would say about like 4%, 4 or 5%. Okay, good. So the image is looking, you know, a little cool, but it's not cool enough for the look I'm going for. So we're just gonna bring the yellows, down a little bit so we can get a cooler looking image. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. So let's bring it down about not too much. Alright, so as you can see, it's looking, kind of blue. It's like a little look. It has a cool feel to it, but it's looking. It's like we're getting close. You can see the water is looking kind of like a greenish blue. So the image is looking pretty good. So we're just gonna move over to the next correction. Okay, in this correction, we're just gonna add some green to the overall image. So the shadow is gonna have a little green, the highlight's gonna have a little green, and the mid-tone is gonna have a little green. So we're just gonna bring it up a little bit. About that, just a little bit. So we went from this very flat image to this in a short period of time. So, and if you want it to look, more cinematic, you can just add like a letterbox to it, and you got this. All right. This is not completely done, so we can go back and play with the exposure. I'm going to bring the exposure up a little bit and bring the shadows down. You can play with the exposure to get the exact look, and you can actually play with the saturation, bring the saturation down if you want to get a different look. This is a pretty cool look. It's not too saturated, it's not too washed out. So this is a pretty cool look. You can bring, play with the saturation, play with the exposure to get different looks. All right, that's pretty much it. Like I said, this is a very flat looking footage with a lot of dynamic range. This would not work with like something like a T2Y or like a 5D, because the codec that they use are so compressed. Like the H.264 codec, it's way too compressed. Like, I mean, you can still get the same exact look, but you wouldn't be able to push, the image just like I just did, like push the saturation and the exposure like the way I did for this footage. All right, so all right, this is pretty much done. So I can actually show you how I got this black magic footage. See this black magic footage here? What I did, actually copy this. Actually copy what I just did and paste it to the black magic footage. But I did some adjustment to the color grading. So all I did is actually I add a little green to the mid-tone, just a little bit, and I play around with the exposure. Let me take it to the exposure. And I play around with the exposure, so I didn't really push the exposure all the way. So, I mean, it all depends on how the footage looks. So you can just, copy and paste, but you're always gonna have to do some adjustment. And like this black magic footage is looking, it's looking pretty good. Let me. Yeah, I think the color looks pretty good for the black magic footage. All right, that's it, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.